The story begins with this bright and sunny day. The things were ordinary and usual like any other day. In this world, playing video games has become the norm. People were even going outside and meeting their friends just to trade or sell some items. And along with the other people that was going through their normal day was this day. Everything was normal until something happened. A bright blue light suddenly appeared in front of the huge crowd. This guy right here is our main protagonist. And he got this confused face as he looked at this bright light. An immense amount of pressure also came in along with the light. Everyone stopped what they were doing as they wondered if this was a kind of terrorist attack or an earthquake. Little did they know, this was the last peaceful day they were about to experience. The bright light enveloped the whole city. Our MC was still trying to block the blinding light that appeared in front of him. This continued until he noticed something. The road that he was about to cross was now gone. It has now become a cliff. Zooming out, the city looked like it was isolated from the other place. It was even placed on a pedestal. Our MC just stood there while staring at the edge of their city. And meanwhile, the other people that were trapped with him were still in shock. Some of them tried checking the signal of their phones, only to find out that they have no cell service. As for our MC, he was now thinking if this was a kind of dimensional transportation, or if they were teleported to another world. He even compared this to the novels and webtoons he had read. All of their attention was then shifted in front of them as a notification from what seemed to be a kind of system appeared. It was an announcement saying that a game has begun. It was asking everyone to throw their dice. Our MC then wondered what dice this system was talking about. But this announcement confirmed his theory that they were now inside a game. This lady then alerted everyone to look at the sky. She was pointing something. A huge box was now falling towards their direction. It was heading with an incredible amount of speed. This guy then thought that this was the dice that the game was talking about. And if the setting was zoomed out even more, this thing was really indeed a dice. And it has the usual numbers in it. After a few seconds, the dice settled down and it showed a number 3. The system then notified everyone that the pawn number 8 will now move 3 spaces. The whole city that was isolated from the rest of the world then started trembling. This was looking like a board game now. It was also revealed that for each space, there were icons that were printed on them. Some looked like shields, flags, and even a sword. The whole pedestal then moved and followed the 3 spaces that the system announced a while ago. The people that were trapped in this city then started to panic. They don't even have the slightest idea on what's gonna happen next. Meanwhile, our MC has this calm expression. He started analyzing the situation and thought that they were indeed summoned to a game. The only problem was that they were not the players. In this story, they were the pawns that were being moved along the game. Our MC also assumed that the one who threw the dice was the real player here. He also compared their situation towards the in-game characters that the players could choose. But the thing that bothered our MC was that if this game needed a pawn, why would it bother summoning the whole city? He then wondered if this has something to do with the requirements of this game. His thoughts were cut off when another notification was shown. The system informed them that they just now arrived at defense space. The difficulty and defense time will also be set using the dice. The player rolled the dice and it showed number 1. This means that the difficulty of the game will be set to level 1. Another dice was rolled and now it showed number 3. The system then told everyone that for this defense game, the pawn will have 3 days to defend. After that, the whole city was then summoned into a new map. Another block was merged towards the city. This one looked like a forest. The people that were still inside this one wondered where the other block came from. From its distance, a huge amount of silhouettes could be seen. The system then notified everyone that the defense mission will begin soon. As for the requirement, it warned everyone that if all 4 bases were destroyed, the game would be over. Different bases were then established among the corners of the city. And if all of these places were gone, the pawn would also be destroyed. This meant that all the people would die. As soon as they found out about this, most of the crowd started to panic. They even pleaded for someone to take them back to their normal lives. Meanwhile, our MC knew that this option was really not available because if it was, The system should have given them a choice from the very start. In his mind, he thought that the best thing they could do right now was to listen to what the system was telling them. Another announcement then appeared, and it informed everyone that it will now start providing the citizens with basic equipment. Something also came out from the notification. It commanded everyone to throw their dice. Each equipment will also have classes, which will be determined along with the number that the people would get. This dice also has up to 100 faces. Before our MC could roll his, the person beside him alerted everyone that something was approaching their direction. These were the said silhouettes a while ago, and by the looks of it, these ones didn't look like rescue teams. After a few seconds, it became evident that the ones that were running in their direction were monsters. The crowd then started running away. This also includes our MC. As the monsters went through the invisible wall that separates these two blocks, a powerful lightning appeared. Those who were too slow to run and react were now being attacked by the monsters. Since our MC was just too near the edge of their block, one monster managed to catch up to him. With a mighty club swing, a burst of crimson sprayed. The monster has successfully landed an attack towards our MC. This guy was now sent flying. And all the while, he thought that he just found out why humans were needed in this game. Their role was to act as the force that will protect the pawn. Our MC landed towards these piles of boxes. It was a powerful impact. The mechanics of the whole game was now starting to get clear. Humans would need to protect the pawn city in order to keep moving towards the goal. This is a dice game that was being played by gods or demons. Each one has a pawn city that they control, and all of the things that would happen on the board relies on the number that the dice would show. Back to our MC, he was still lying on the boxes. The amount of damage that he got was just too significant. The monster that dealt this was also standing in front of him. It got this fierce expression on its face. This one looked like a powerful warrior among their tribe. And while it was looking at our MC, a lady with flame wings appeared. This one was even wielding a spear. The lady then made her spear pierce right through the ground. A force that looked like lavas came out from it. After that, a flame whirlwind appeared, and it alerted the monsters that were present in the area. The force intensified even more after a few more seconds. It was now starting to suck the monsters towards it. The monsters didn't have any way to counter or even avoid this powerful skill. The ones that were caught became ashes. The people that were near the area received some time to breathe. This meant that they were now safe. The flame whirlwind went out, and it revealed the same lady that wielded the spear. The people were now wondering what was the identity of this new hero. This waifu right here that had this white hair and red fierce eyes was Go Haiju. She's just level 1, and she's also an ordinary citizen. The thing that made her this powerful was the item that she was wielding. It was called the Empirical Flame Dragon Prominence's Canine. It has a legendary class. This thing allows the user to borrow the power of the Empirical Flame Dragon. Haiju then commanded everyone that was injured to run towards the Namsen Tower. She revealed that the military and police were forming a defense line there. She also asked everyone to roll their dice as soon as possible. These ones then started looking at the dice that they got from the system. Haiju confirmed this, and they followed her instructions. She also told them that the dice will turn into an equipment that will correspond to the number that they will roll. She commanded those who will receive ordinary equipment to just fall back. As for those who will receive magical class and above, she wanted them to help her fend off the monsters. The crowd found out that Haiju was really telling the truth. Some of them got scythes, sickles, shields, and even maces. A new face of monsters was rushing towards the city, and Haiju stood right in the front lines to defeat these guys. One person among the crowd then told everyone to do what Haiju said. Those who have magical class and above equipment rushed through the monsters. This very same day marked the time when all of the humans lost their ordinary lives. But this was also the start of them living extraordinary lives. The first day of the new year, the countless people died. As for the ones that survived, they will be considered as the heroes that would serve as the pillar of the city pawn. Our MC was still alive amidst the chaos that just subsided. It was also revealed that his name was Choi Yul. He's also a level 1 ordinary citizen. This guy managed to hold onto his dice even after being defeated by the monster. And after a few seconds, he lost consciousness and the dice fell. It then started rolling on top of the system notification. And with the overwhelming odds, our MC managed to roll the highest number, which was the number 100. This right here was the start of his journey of becoming the strongest human in this pawn. The dice shines more brightly after a few seconds. It started to melt and it's now forming into a new piece of equipment. The one that our MC got was a mythical class magic textbook. It's called the Demon King of Sovereignty Krasina's book. This allows the user to use the library of the Demon King Krasina. Using this item would allow the user to find all kinds of information, including item locations, hidden events, and even monster information. The book started to emanate this crimson bright glow as it was summoned in front of Yul. And while our MC was unconscious, the system's warning about this item appeared. It said that Krasina is an incarnation of monopolistic desire. This meant that all of the rewards that the people would get from the information of this book will be taken from them, and they will all be given to the current owner of Krasina's book, which in this case was our MC, Choi Yul. After that, the defense game continued. The 3 hours had already passed. As for the casualties, there were now 3,102, and another 7,023 people were injured. And despite all of the efforts of the humans inside this city, one base still got destroyed. Haiju did most of the work. This was only natural because she has a powerful weapon alongside her. She wondered if the defense game was now over. The people who managed to survive celebrated. They also hailed her as a goddess that saved them. And while they were happy with this situation, an army truck came in and it got their attention. One person came out from the vehicle and introduced themselves as the Korean army. The soldiers then started moving out and their leader commanded his subordinates to get all the injured and the civilians in the truck. Their main goal was to evacuate them all to Namsan Tower. The leader of this group then went to Haiju and saluted in front of her. This one claimed that Haiju worked really hard again. This soldier right here is Kwon Yeong. He thanked Haiju for giving the army and the police enough time to organize and dispatch the needed forces to different places. The item that he got was called Helden's Helmet. This item is a hero rank helmet and its effect is it prevents the user from falling into a state of confusion, fear, or bewilderment. Haiju then asked Ying if the battle was already over. This one then responded that they were still not sure about the outcome as phone calls and the internet don't work at all. They have no other way of communicating towards the other troops. As for their temporary solution, the army established shortwave radios. This way, they could expect reports from each place. After explaining everything to Haiju, the soldier told her that they should go to Namsan Tower to seek shelter for now. But someone behind them shouted. The unknown voice told them not to go there. The one that said this was none other than our MC. He was now conscious and back on his feet. He was also holding the book that he got from the dice. He revealed that the game was not over yet. Even in his dire situation, Yul managed to inform them that the boss monster of this stage will be coming soon. He told them that the information was written in the book that he was holding now. He also claimed that it was all written in this book. Mission information, monster data, and the current progress of everything. Our MC then showed them the book to back up his claims. But in Ying and Haiju's perspective, all they could see was a blank paper. This confused these two and thought that maybe the contents of this book could only be seen by this guy. Ying added that maybe this item was more of a data book. In the back of his mind, he knew that if all of this information were true, this item was very overpowered. To confirm what this guy in front of them was saying, Ying asked for more information. Our MC happily complied and opened more pages of the book. Yul started reading the information about Ying's item. He revealed that this helmet is one item of a 6-item set. Additionally, Yul also knew about some of his personal information like the number of days this soldier left until he gets discharged. After that, Yul turned his attention towards Haiju. He also knew about her weapon and to really convince them, Our MC revealed that this lady's favorite song to sing at karaoke is Chilled Up Mountain. Hearing this embarrassing and unexpected information made Haiju blush. She then asked Yul to stop from reading the book. These two were now convinced that the things that were written on this item were all reliable and true. This also confirmed Ying's thoughts about it being a data book. He then remembered the first thing that Yul warned them about, and it was the boss monster that will come out soon. After confirming this information, Ying got his radio and was already about to inform the headquarters about this. And while this was all happening, someone was in deep thought. This one wondered if he could now be considered as a bug character inside the game. He claimed that the world's problems were all too easy for him. This one also thought that this may also be the reason why the world made him like this. It was as if the operator of this game found a bug and isolated it from the rest of the program. This one then thought of something he would do if he could get the chance to go out into the world. This scene was then cut off suddenly. The next thing we knew was that Yul's attention was being called out by someone. And it took him a while to notice this. The one that was shouting his name was Ying. This soldier informed our MC that he received permission from the headquarters to carry out their plan. The truth is, this move was a really huge gamble for the army because it might cost a lot of lives. But since they really didn't have another plan nor any time to spare, they decided to trust Yul's data. The radio that Ying was holding was then given to our MC. The army was now trusting him to give them as much information and countermeasures as possible. Our MC then gladly accepted the responsibility. He started talking towards the radio to test it. He then introduced himself and told everyone that he will now be talking about the defense mission. As for this stage of the game, Yul revealed that their primary mission is to protect the base from the waves of monsters. The waves will come every 6 hours, and at the end of each wave, there will be a boss monster. This time, the boss monster that appeared was called Twin-Headed Ogre. Its difficulty was at level 1. This creature could use a close combat and magic at the same time. Yul emphasized that they would win if they could protect the base 4 times a day. And that was 12 times in 3 days. He also informed everyone about the information that he got right now. Yul claimed that they could use everything and strategize together. As for the other people who couldn't fight, they would be focusing towards the rescue operation. This way, they could ensure everyone's safety and survival. Our MC also told everyone that after this fight, he would also use the book to look for some ways how they could go back to their world. This statement got the attention of Haiju. White-haired waifu got speechless upon hearing our MC. She was kinda amazed because Yul was not just thinking about this mission but even what will happen afterwards too. After giving the initial information, our MC took a deep breath to prepare himself for what he was about to do. This person right here was now determined to lead everyone so they could win this game. This was also the start of him proving himself. The only problem with him doing this was the effect of Krasina's book. Our MC thought that he should have double-checked everything first. The warning about this item was given to him by the system while he was unconscious. And while he was busy giving everyone commands and directions on what they should do, the Demon King that was inside was also busy writing the names of the people who were receiving the information. This includes Haiju and Ying. The book was about to monopolize all of the rewards of those with whom the information was shared. And the scope of the term being shared includes everything. The book was now collecting more and more names. The requirement doesn't just include the people who heard the information directly from Yul. It also includes all the people who hear from others, hear rumors, and such. The names kept piling up. And that was because the information on how to defeat monsters was being passed on by one person to another. These 3 also did their best fending off the smaller monsters. Their role towards this defense game was just too great, and after a few more seconds, the boss monster of this wave has finally appeared. The ogre was even wielding this powerful sword. Yul then commanded Ying to start firing. This was to distract the boss monster. The attack was becoming more effective because our MC kept on providing the weakness of this one, and after a few, the boss monster stopped moving. This was the cue that Yul was waiting for. He then told Haiju some things. In a blink of an eye, This lady vanished from her position. The next thing we knew was that she was already rushing towards the ogre with this powerful flame attack. This was more than enough to cut the ogre in half. Haiju was also able to exude more power that it even turned her hair red. Haiju was taken aback when she realized what just happened. She started looking at the transformation she just got. Aside from her hair turning into the color of the flames, she also got more powerful. Yul then gave her a thumbs up as she just defeated the boss monster. Ying also did his job to inform everyone that the first wave was over. Haiju smiled and gave the thumbs up back to our MC. Little did they know, something was happening. Krasina was busy doing his role. The Demon King of Sovereignty was about to collect everything. The greedy being that was in deep slumber was about to be woken up. The total population that this pawn city has was around 193,256. And the recorded sacrifices of sovereignty that used the information that the book provided were around 176,542. This marked the beginning of Yul carrying a heavy burden, as a staggering 91% of the population was classified as sacrifices in just one day. And this would continue until the last day of the game. The intense battle that the first wave did towards the 8th pawn resonated throughout the area. A defense mission is kind of like a defense game. Monsters would keep on attacking the area until the time runs out. And as they move toward the bases, the players would produce forces to stop these ones. More and more waves kept on coming into the city. But unlike the first one, the monsters got confused because they were not able to see a human. And this was because Yul kept on leading everyone. The humans that were able to get long-range weapons were commanded to fire onto the waves. This has been really effective because it covers a wide area. And while their weapons were in cooldown, another set of attackers would take their place. This kind of tactic proved to be really useful against monsters that were not intelligent. The remaining monsters that managed to survive were then faced by the soldiers. Most of them were lured up to the direction that Yul wanted them to be. And when they were split up, the close-range humans were there waiting. These monsters were then given their final fate. And this seemed to be a piece of cake for these ones who got higher-grade weapons. The 8th pawn city's backbone was really this guy right here. Each time the waves came, there were already elaborate plans that were placed. And these ones were created to lessen injuries and avoid casualties. Krasina's book updates in real time all the information about the current situation. Yul was becoming more amazed about this item that he got because whatever information he needs, it automatically shows up. All he needed to do was to flip the damn pages. More and more data was then provided. And for each second passing by, this information was being used by everyone. As for our MC, he still had no idea on what consequence this was about to give. The defense game was still ongoing. Monsters were still being defeated all over the place. Ying has maintained his calm decision-making and led the soldiers. After clearing one place, they were required to report this to Choi Yul. This guy had become speechless after completing their mission in this area. In the back of his mind, he was thinking about our MC. At first, the commanding headquarters still had the final say on what they should do about the information that was being given by our MC. But as the situation progressed, Yul became more like their official commander. Ying still kept quiet and didn't bother talking to anyone about this. All he knew was that Yul told them that there's only data in the book. But what amazes him was if Yul also had the natural ability to lead everyone and command over the entire city. He also wondered if the book was also behind this amazing ability to lead. His train of thoughts were then cut off as our MC got his attention. Yul smiled and told him that it's almost over now. Ying then asked our MC if the last boss monster was already coming. Our MC confirmed this but still assured him to not worry. And this statement confused the soldier. Yul then revealed that the one that will end this fight in one go was Haiju, which was currently sleeping at the back of this truck. This powerful waifu then woke up after a few hours, and by the time she opened her eyes, a gigantic rock monster was already in front of her. Haiju screamed loudly as she saw this monster. This one right here was called Billy the Giant. Its difficulty was still at level 1. It was born weak and was abandoned by his kind. Even though it was large, it was still lacking in combat power. Yul and Ying greeted our sleeping beauty as soon as she regained herself. Ying claimed that her timing was just perfect because they were about to run out of flares that were used to lure and distract this monster. Even though the description for this boss monster tells Yul that it still lacks power, its attacks were still more than enough to crash anything. Haiju was taken aback as she realized the power that this boss monster has. Yul then told her that this was the main reason they lured this one away from the city. With just one single strike, it could destroy the bases in one go. The only thing that humans have advantage against this boss monster was that it was just too slow, and it has no resistance against any element. Yul revealed that they could win against it if they could just focus all of their attacks on this one. Haiju heard this statement and wondered why there were only the three of them here now against this boss monster. Our main character then informed her that all they required was Haiju's power, leaving waifu in a state of astonishment. And while she was still wondering what our MC meant, Billy the Giant was slowly approaching their direction. This one knew that she didn't have much time to panic, so she wielded her weapon and asked Yul for some instructions on how to defeat this one. Our MC then told her that after the items with heroic rank and above, there's this hidden feature. And if someone could fulfill the requirements, the item could transform or a hidden skill will be activated. This was the first time Haiju and Ying found out about this feature, and they got really interested. Yul also confidently revealed that the book also revealed the requirement for each item. After a while, Haiju was already positioned in the middle of the fields. She was ready to battle Billy the Giant. Before she proceeds, she asked someone one more time if he was really sure about this information. Her question was for Yul, and he told her to just trust him and the book. Haiju then raised the spear that she was holding while thinking that she still didn't feel good about this. But this one really had no other choice because she trusted Yul. In an instant, Haiju pierced herself right through using the spear. And while she just wounded herself, Billy the Giant appeared right in front of her and was about to deliver a devastating strike. But before this boss monster could finish its attack, a huge flaming dragon appeared in front of it. The system then notified the Haiju that the hidden skill of Prominence's canine was now activating. Yul and Ying could only stare at this amazing scene in front of them. The huge silhouette of this flame dragon then started gathering flames on its mouth. Turns out, the hidden skill would allow Haiju to summon the flame dragon once per mission. And right now, it was standing in front of this giant that looked like a little kid. The huge ball of flames was then casted towards Billy the Giant, and the force that it created destroyed everything that it touched. It also made this huge explosion as soon as it landed towards the boss monster. Ying then figured that Yul planned this thing all along. If the attack of the flame dragon was casted near the city, it would have destroyed everything. But there's still one more thing that was more dangerous than that skill, and that was Choi Yul's book. Our MC then quickly approached Haiju to check her, but he ended up telling her that she was hot, literally and figuratively. Meanwhile, Ying was still thinking about Yul's book. He thought that the information that was written on it was just too much. If used wrong, it could lead to the downfall of this city. And while these two in front of him were helping each other, this soldier was just glad that this book came in possession to someone with a good heart. After defeating the final boss, humanity was then transported back to one area. The system also informed them that they just completed the defense mission. People started celebrating. It was also announced that rewards will be given to all surviving citizens. All of them got 300 PTS for clearing the mission, but it was deducted by 25% because they lost one base. As for the individual reward, each would receive something based on their contribution rate. A point shop was also opened in front of the people. They found out that they could buy all sorts of items here using the points they were about to receive. There were even healing potions and all sorts. The nurses and those who were inside the infirmary told everyone to prioritize getting the potion first. Yul smiled as he was glad that the injured ones could easily be treated now. But as for the other people around him, they were startled by what they saw. Our MC also noticed that something was weird. This was the same for Haiju and Ying. It has something to do with the points. Turns out, The system notified everyone that they have been rewarded with 0 points because of the effect of the skill called Sacrifice of Sovereignty. Most of the crowd started to panic. They claimed that they really need some points now to heal some people. Haiju was already panicking and she turned towards Yul to ask. But all our MC could say to her was that he also has no idea. But all the while, he had this grim expression on his face. The system notification that was shown in front of him was different from the rest. It was the skill Sacrifice of Sovereignty. It informed Yul that if he managed to sacrifice 90% of the citizens, the rewards he would get would increase by 100 times. After a few seconds, everyone got the same notification. It was like a leaderboard for the people who got the most points for the defense game. There were now 2 people listed. These ones managed to survive on their own and didn't get Yul's information. But as for the top one that got most of the points, the system announced that it was Choi Yul. Our MC just got a whopping 9,968,844,850 points. Everyone was shocked when they saw this announcement. They were all speechless at first, but all of their faces turned into a grim one as they realized something. The people started rushing towards Yul and claimed that he stole their points. Some of them were even begging for a few points just to buy healing potions. Haiju and Ying tried stopping everyone from reaching Yul. Our MC tried stating his side and told everyone that he had no idea about this thing and he was not aware about this feature. Ying then intervened and told him to calm down. He suggested that they should focus first on treating the injured. With a serious expression, this soldier knew that points could be traded or given out, so he told Yul to share them amongst the people who needed it the most. Our MC then immediately agreed. He didn't want others to think that he did steal the points on purpose. And while Yul was already trying to give back the points, a system notification appeared and it showed the passive skill of his item. This one prevents him from sharing or donating items/points. The crowd was already in chaos. They were demanding our MC to give their points back. But all the while, Yul was not able to do anything. He even tried buying some potions then giving them to the people, but the passive skill prevented him. Yul got annoyed and frustrated to the point that he even threw the book to the ground. Things were not making any sense. Haiju even helped on destroying it using her flaming spear. Yul thought that by doing this, the effect of the item would be gone, but that was not clearly the case. The book was slowly regaining its form. Our MC then started thrashing around the area. All he ever wanted was to survive this game, but now he was about to get condemned for this situation. He was even hearing the cries of the people near him. Some of them were just begging for 10 points to heal their loved ones. All of the people were now blaming our MC for this unfortunate event. In their minds, they regret trusting Yul with this defense game. As for Yeung, he kept on receiving reports that the death tolls are rising. The army was also starting to struggle maintaining the enraged citizens. This one just stared at Yul blankly. Meanwhile, this one kept on looking for some ways to negate the effect. He hoped that the book would also provide this kind of information. Yul froze in place when he sensed the presence of something pointed at his head. It turned out to be a gun. This move was from Yeung. He claimed that this madness should be enough now and told our MC that what he was about to do now was for the best. And since he got no response from Yul, Ying repeated his words. He revealed that Choi Yul was now under arrest. The crowd that was near them heard this and they were not satisfied. They even wanted to take care of things in their own hands. Haiju was the one who tried to stop them. Ying then moved closer to our MC and whispered something. He told Yul to run away and find some ways to fix all of this. He claimed that this was the best move they got right now. Yul was stunned hearing this suggestion. He clenched his fists as he knew that Yeung was right. The crowd was starting to become more violent. And in a few more seconds, they will be able to reach him. Our MC then summoned the system shop. He bought agility stats from the points he got, and in a split second, a bright red light appeared. Yul has finally fled the area. This move then enraged the people more. After that, The whole area was filled with notification sounds. All of the people received another announcement that the next turn of the player that was assigned to this city pawn was around 24 hours from now. Worries and panic got evident on their faces. They didn't expect it to be this soon. Ying didn't waste any more time and led all of the crowd to a more safe area. And while all of the people were now busy evacuating, Haiju was just left there standing. She was still thinking about what just happened to Yul and to all the points that he got. After a few hours, the crowd calmed down. The army was now asking everyone to pick their roles. They could choose to fight or they could just evacuate. They were also asked to always check their status window and that they should never leave the evacuation center. Some of the officers also assisted the older citizens and taught them how to use the system window. These guys also commanded the people to run away as soon as they spotted Choi Yul. The army was now desperate to isolate all the people who could hear even the slightest information from Yul. And all the while, the most wanted person in this city pawn was just busy making this magic circle. Our MC was now wielding this red chalk. Even though he was already hiding himself from the crowd, he could still hear all the announcements that were pertaining to him. As for the other guys who contributed a lot from the previous mission, they were busy planning their next move. Haiju was also doing her best to prepare herself for the upcoming battle. The people who were too old or too young to fight were placed in a safer area. And the ones who were about to fight against monsters sought blessings or for any support they could have. And just like that, the 24 hours that the system gave to them was over. It notified everyone that the new turn will now begin. The player that was assigned to them just rolled the dice. This move would determine the fate of this pawn city. After a few seconds, the system informed everyone that the 8th pawn will be moving 4 spaces. The pedestal then followed the number shown. It will now land towards this space with purple lights. This one was called the Demon King Seal space. It informed everyone that demonic pillars will start appearing in certain places and all they needed to do was to destroy all of them. And if these seals were not destroyed within the given time, the Demon King will be summoned. As usual, the game would proceed on setting the mission time, number of pillars, and the difficulty of the Pillar Guardians. The duration of the mission would be 5 days, and there will be 3 pillars that will be summoned. As for the first pillar, the difficulty that was set on it was just level 1. A huge tower with chains appeared in a certain part of the city, and on the top part of it, there appeared to be a statue with wings. This right here was called the Fateless Fallen Angel. This monster will be the Pillar Guardian that would prevent the people from destroying its base. The second Pillar Guardian's difficulty was also set to level 1. And time, this monster resided on the top of this crystal-like tower. The Guardian that would be defending this one was called the Mad Brains. It's a being that cannot stop creating things. And as time passes, the better its creations are. And finally, the last Pillar Guardian's difficulty was also set. And unfortunately, it happened to be level 3. This notification startled Haiju and Ying. The last demonic seal was right in this tower. The level 3 guardian that would be guarding it was called the Goblin Swordmaster Jack. This one has reached the peak of martial arts and gone through body transformation. He's now trying to undo the seal of the Demon King to challenge him. Back to our MC, he also saw all of the notifications. And he was just here lying on the ground. This scene was kinda like the one in Soul Leveling. Yul had this kind of smile as the announcement concluded. Meanwhile, Ying received a report that the civilians have already started attacking the pillars. This meant that the battle had already begun. The guardian that made the first move was the Fateless Angel. The report said that they have tried stopping the people but they're just too uncontrollable. Ying knew that there's nothing they could do now but to back them up. He then asked about the situation of Haiju. One soldier that was standing near him informed Ying that she already left a while ago. This one thought that this situation really became a mess. The perfect cooperation and coordination they had fell in just one day. As for Haiju, this lady has already arrived in front of the red crystal demonic seal. This one was planning to confront the Pillar Guardian all by herself. Haiju had this focused expression on her face. The aura of this Goblin Swordmaster was different from the previous boss monster she had encountered. This one didn't even become violent in front of her presence. Haiju then rushed towards this guardian. She thought that she needed to defeat this one quickly so she could prevent anyone from dying against it. She summoned all of her strength and she was able to land a hit. But the problem was that her spear didn't go through the goblin. Her spear was stopped by the sword of this guardian. This one then twisted its sword to do one counterattack. The goblin swung and it was more than enough to send Haiju flying. It then started raising its sword once again. But this time, magic particles were starting to form around it. This one exuded this bright blue light, and in a swift moment, a slash was about to land onto Haiju. Her eyes widened because she was not even able to react against it. The whole area was then enveloped with the blue aura from the slash of the goblin. This should have ended their encounter, but then, the goblin saw something that caught its attention. Someone also came in front of its demonic tower seal, and this person was none other than Choi Yul. He also held Haiju in his arms as he saved her from the impending death. Our MC then brought her down and asked if Haiju could say something to all the people. This was about the rewards that Yul got a while ago. Hearing this, Haiju's face brightened up. She thought that our MC found a way to return everything back, but that was not the case. Yul wanted them to know that he will be keeping everything for himself. This statement confused Haiju. Yul was about to approach the guardian pillar, but before doing that, he told Haiju to warn everyone not to get near him if they don't want their rewards to be stolen. And this was all because of this mythical item that he got, the Book of Greed. Our MC was now planning to face everything alone. This was because he found out that there's nothing he could do about the rewards. And he couldn't also escape the Demon King's book. This man was about to bear the heaviest responsibility on his back right now. Yul then opened the system shop and told the system that he will be buying stats. The level of his stat window was at level 30. And each of these points were allotted towards the agility one. And since he got all the points he would need to buy everything, he told the system to max out all of his stats. Haiju was then shocked to see multiple notifications that appeared on her status window. All of the people who saw these ones got annoyed and felt bitter. This was because the system informed them that Choi Yul was the first citizen to max out his stamina, intellect, wisdom, agility, and health. Even the luck stat was maxed out to 100. Our MC was starting to feel the sudden surge of power he just got. He then asked the system how many equipment dice he got, and it told him that he now has 423,512. Yul then commanded the system to roll everything and get rid of the ones that were under magical class. The only things that he would need were those above heroic class. When all of the dice were rolled, our MC got 142 legendary class equipment and 1,023 heroic ones. A huge pile of system notifications then appeared in front of Yul. The items that he got were about to be summoned. In his mind, he would just use everything to his advantage since he can't get rid of this skill. Yul was now planning to monopolize all the rewards and power that this Demon King's book could offer. The Goblin Swordmaster knew that something interesting was about to happen, and it made it smile. Right in front of him was the most overpowered MC that we could see. Yul's silhouette was already filled with a powerful aura. This guy right here has made up his mind. He would be the protector of the city from this game and do everything to go back to his original life. Yul got this determined smile on his face. He thought that if this was the only way to atone the sins that he got, he would be more than willing to take it. Meanwhile, the Goblin Swordmaster Jack was just patiently waiting for our MC to be done with his shenanigans. This one had this habit that he would just attack those who it considers to be a strong enemy. But before they could even start their battle, Yul told him that he was sorry because he doesn't really have much time to play with Jack now. After that, he equipped a heroic rank shoe that's called Magic Air Shoes. This item makes the user jump and float mid-air. Man would be consumed continuously. Our MC then jumped and vanished instantly. He also told Jack that he will be back soon, so it should wait for him here. Haiju was still there and witnessed the whole thing. She got confused because Yul suddenly left casually. This guardian pillar then sat down once again and seemed to be not bothered by what just happened. Haiju got more confused as she saw that the goblin swordmaster would really just sit there and wait. She wondered what's the real deal with this pillar guardian's attitude. Back to Yul. This guy was just hopping around the city, and while approaching another monster using his Jordan shoes, he thought that Jack wouldn't attack anyone unless it was attacked, so he got all things under control. Right now, our MC's target was this fateless angel right here who happened to notice his presence. But before this pillar guardian could react, Yul has already landed a kick onto this one. The impact of this attack could be seen by the shock waves it produced. Yul smiled because this was his plan all along. He would just go and fight the other more aggressive guardians first. As for the crowd that lost their rewards, they still have the same resentment towards Yul. They were all bitter because their points were used by our MC on maxing all of his stats, but their whining were then silenced as they witnessed this intense battle in front of them. Yul has continued to attack the Fateless Angel. This guardian also has a unique trait that will be unlocked after fulfilling a certain condition. The book has also provided our MC the strengths and weaknesses of this one. While fighting the guardian, Yul thought that he should prevent the unique trait from activating, as it will really be a huge mess to deal with. And since this one was practically fighting a maxed stat character, it was already being overwhelmed. The unique trait that this Fateless Angel has was that if this one killed 100 humans, it would transform, and its next form would be more than enough to destroy the whole city. From being a Fateless Angel, it would be the slaughterer of all mankind. Before this thing could become stronger, Yul was determined to end this one now. Our MC swung his sword and its slashes were able to sever the wings of the monster. This guy wanted to get rid of the ones that have traits that would cause more trouble in the future. The Fateless Angel was now falling to the ground. Its ability to fly was removed. In Yul's mind, the most important thing was not to clear the mission. It lies on how they would complete it. Right now, he was rushing towards the Fateless Angel again. This one was falling at an incredible speed, and on the road that was directly below the monster, an army truck was on its way to rescue some civilians. Yin was inside this said truck, and he was busy commanding the others to keep a 500-meter radius away from the pillar. He wanted to know first what Yul's real intention was in taking on the Guardian. He wondered if that guy has finally found a way to give back their points, or if he has decided to keep them all to himself. This guy recalled the facial expression that Yul showed when they were in panic, and he thought that our MC didn't look like a bad guy. He also considered the fact that Yul was incredibly intelligent, and someone having the same power could even dominate the entire city if he wanted to. But right now, this one was busy defeating another Guardian. This was the same for Haiju, who had been really uncontrollable as well. Ying then wondered if they could really clear this mission again, and while their truck was heading in a certain direction, the fight between Yul and the angel went on. The driver of the truck saw something and he immediately turned the vehicle. A bright red light has hit the ground, and it nearly got the truck. The force that this one created was more than enough to make the army truck fly into the opposite direction. Ying and the other soldiers seemed to be fine even after the incident, but they wondered what happened. This soldier checked the place where that beam landed, and then he saw a silhouette of a man holding the same wings and halo that the Guardian had. This person was none other than our MC, Choi Yul. He was now standing on top of the Guardian, and it seemed like he had defeated it. The sword that Yul used was called the Divine Divide. It's a legendary class sword. This one was said to have divided the heavens and earth, though it has lost most of its power. Yul then proceeded to open the system window and turn the monster parts that he got into items. Ying then approached our MC. He told him that he was surprised because he single-handedly defeated a Guardian, but this guy didn't reply to what the soldier had said. All he did was to smile at him. After a few seconds, our MC went on his way and vanished again. Ying thought that the reason why Yul didn't talk was that he was preventing him from becoming a sacrifice of sovereignty again, and that gesture made him sure that Yul was really not a bad guy. And while he was busy with his thoughts, the other soldier started to tremble and pointed out the Guardian. Ying was not aware of what's happening, so he just told him to report to the HQ that it has been defeated, but that was clearly not the case. Turns out, this one right here was still alive. It started to move and approach the soldiers. The system then notified them that a certain requirement had been fulfilled, all because its wings and tail were removed. A special trait has been unlocked, and it was called corruption. This then made the faithless angel transform into another being. The pillar guardian looked like a new monster. This was now called the corruption beast. Its difficulty was also increased to level 2. Yin was still standing in front of this boss monster. He thought to himself that military life was really shitty. The growl of the monster has enough power to send some debris flying. But as soldiers, they cannot really back down. The squad that Yin leads bravely walked towards the beast. He thought that since there's only 3 monsters in this mission, these 3 should be as difficult as an entire raid. Nevertheless, this individual raised his weapon and began firing. He then wondered what was Yul's reason for leaving something like this in their care. Yin also commanded his men to call for some backups while they held this beast in place. In a split second, the monster leaped from the building with its incredible speed. This beast tried to land an attack towards the soldiers. Fortunately, they were able to dodge it. The whole troop then started running away. A status abnormality called fear has affected their brains and lost their will to fight. The only one who was sane was Yin, all thanks to the effect of his helmet. But as he witnessed what was happening, all he could do was to grit his teeth. He began diverting the corruption beast's attention, his strategy for safeguarding the other soldiers who were unable to think clearly. In his mind, he just needed to buy more time until the backups came in. But this seemed to be a really wishful thinking, as the corruption beast had already jumped and was about to pounce on him. He turned his head around and thought that he could just hold on until then. After a second, the claw of the beast landed on the ground. Blood was splattered all over the place. The eyeglasses that Yin wore were also sent flying. The corruption beast continued putting its weight onto its palm, and all the while this was happening, our MC was just there holding his book. He closed his fist and the book did the same in unison. He exclaimed that this just took care of one. Going back to the beast, something emanates a bright light under its palm. After a few more moments, the power that oozed from this place made the hand of this guardian be repelled. A system notification appeared and it revealed that the Helden's helmet that Yin had has activated a hidden skill. A hand holding a flag was then shown on the scene, and this was from Yin, who managed to survive that deadly attack. As for the requirement of the hidden skill, the wearer should be on the brink of death from an attack of a dark or corruption type, and he should be a leader of a party of more than 5 people. This skill right here was called Helden's Ghost. The user of the helmet will be possessed by the ghost of Helden, and it will boost all of his stats for 10 minutes. His defense against dark or corruption attacks would also be increased. Yin kept on uttering phrases that were about the Iron Club goddess, and it made the corruption beast confused. A fanatic skill was also activated, causing his whole party to be possessed as well. After a few more seconds, the soldiers who had initially been fleeing from the guardian of the pillar suddenly changed course and rushed toward the enemy, driven by a resolute determination to eliminate the threat. Meanwhile, Yul was still standing at the top of the building and was trembling. He thought that this hidden skill was scarier than what he had expected. That's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the story, please show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.